War does not always begin with explosions. Sometimes it begins with silence. In modern warfare, the most powerful weapon is not a missile, not a tank, and not even an army. It is the moment when the enemy realizes their weapons will never fire. For decades, the United States has invested not only in firepower, but in systems that decide whether a war can even start. Before the first shot is fired, before the first missile is launched, the battlefield is already being shaped. Radar systems, communication networks, command chains, and decision-making structures are tested long before the public ever hears the word war. When these systems fail, armies do not move, missiles do not launch, and commanders hesitate. This is not science fiction, and it is not conspiracy. It is modern military doctrine, a doctrine where dominance is achieved by controlling information, not territory. Naval fleets gathering near strategic waters are not always preparing to attack. Sometimes, they are preparing to observe, to watch, to listen, and to quietly test. Every signal sent, every radar pulse detected, every encrypted message transmitted reveals more than most people realize. In this phase, no bombs fall, no cities burn, and yet, the outcome of the conflict is already taking shape. The enemy begins to understand something terrifying. Their defenses respond slower, their systems behave unpredictably, and their confidence starts to erode. Fear does not come from explosions. Fear comes from uncertainty. When leaders cannot trust their own instruments, they cannot trust their own power. At that moment, the war has not officially begun, but psychologically, it is already over. This is how modern empires fight, not to destroy the battlefield, but to control it. And in the next episode, we will examine how cyber warfare and electronic dominance can neutralize a nation without a single shot being fired. When people think of cyber warfare, they imagine hackers sitting behind computers. But modern cyber warfare is not about individuals. It is about systems. Military power today depends entirely on networks. Radar systems must talk to command centers. Command centers must talk to missile units. Missile units must receive authorization codes. Break one link, and nothing moves. The United States understood this reality early, long before cyber warfare became a public term. Instead of attacking weapons directly, the strategy shifted toward attacking trust. Trust in data, trust in signals, trust in orders. Electronic warfare and cyber operations do not need to destroy hardware. They only need to confuse it. A radar that shows false targets is more dangerous than a radar that is destroyed. A missile system that receives delayed commands is more useless than one that is physically damaged. Because commanders hesitate, and hesitation is fatal in war. Cyber operations often begin quietly. Long before fleets appear on the horizon, signals are monitored, frequencies are mapped, digital fingerprints are collected. Every military network, no matter how isolated it claims to be, leaks information, software updates, maintenance procedures, human error. This is where dominance begins. Once access is achieved, the goal is not chaos. The goal is control. Systems may appear functional, screens stay on, buttons still respond, but underneath, nothing works as intended. Missiles fail pre-launch checks, radars lose synchronization, command confirmations never RCE. From the outside, it looks like restraint. From the inside, it feels like paralysis. Leaders face a terrifying dilemma. If they escalate, they risk exposing their weakness. If they wait, they lose initiative. And so, they do nothing. This is how a military is silenced, not by force, but by doubt. In the next episode, we will explore how this silent domination forces nations into negotiations without ever declaring surrender. When weapons stop responding, the battlefield moves into the human mind. At this stage, war is no longer about firepower. It is about perception. Leaders do not need to see destruction. They only need to sense loss of control. A nation may still have soldiers, missiles, and aircraft, but without reliable systems, power becomes theoretical. Untheoretical power does not win wars. This is where psychological pressure replaces violence. Silence from military systems creates noise inside decision rooms. Commanders argue, technicians hesitate, Political leaders grow impatient. Every delay raises the same question. Can we actually fight? Publicly, nothing appears wrong. No explosions, no emergency broadcasts, no visible defeat. But precedently, confidence collapses. This is the moment modern strategy aims for. Not surrender, but uncertainty. Admitting defeat damages legitimacy, especially for regimes built on strength. So instead, they seek another path, negotiation, not as a choice, but as a necessity. When the enemy understands that escalation will only expose weakness, they begin searching for off-ramps. Back channels open, messages soften, demands shift, not because peace is desired, but because survival is. This is how pressure works in the real world. No moral speeches, no dramatic ultimatums, only quiet signals and unspoken understanding. The stronger side does not announce victory because it does not need to. Control speaks for itself, and the weaker side does not announce defeat because it cannot afford to. So the conflict pauses, frozen in ambiguity. From the outside, it looks like diplomacy. From the inside, it feels like containment. In the next episode, we will examine how naval presence and strategic encirclement reinforce this pressure without ever crossing the line into open war. Before wars are fought on land, they are often decided at sea. Naval power is not only about firepower, it is about presence. When fleets move into position, they redraw the boundaries of choice. Aircraft carriers do not need to launch strikes. Their existence already limits options. Sea lanes narrow, airspace tightens, and supply routes become questions. This is not a blockade, not officially. It is a demonstration of reach. Every radar sweep from a warship, every patrol aircraft in the sky, adds pressure without headlines. The message is subtle, but unmistakable. We are watching. Encirclement does not mean isolation. It means dependency. Fuel, spare parts, communications. All modern militaries rely on external systems, even those that claim independence. Naval presence turns geography into leverage. When fleets gather, cyber pressure intensifies. Signals overlap, frequencies crowd, errors increase. Nothing breaks, but everything slows. Commanders feel time slipping away. Each hour of hesitation benefits only one side, the side that can wait. This is how pressure accumulates, layer by layer. Cyber uncertainty, electronic interference, and maritime dominance. Together, they create a cage without walls. From the outside, there is no invasion. From the inside, there is no escape. Leaders are left with calculations, not courage. They count risks, not victories. At this point, the strongest move is often not action, but restraint. And restraint, under pressure, is rarely voluntary. In the final episode, we will bring all these elements together to answer one question: how does a war end without ever beginning? By now, the pattern is clear. Modern wars do not always end with victory. They end with acceptance. Acceptance of limits. Acceptance of reality. When cyber systems fail. When confidence erodes. When fleets wait silently offshore. The question is no longer, how do we win? The question becomes, how do we survive this? This is the final stage of modern power. Not destruction, but control. The United States does not need to announce dominance. Dominance is felt. It is felt in delayed decisions, in unanswered commands, in negotiations that suddenly become possible. This is not mercy. It is strategy. A war that never starts, costs less, reveals less, and achieves more. The enemy keeps their cities. Their leaders keep their titles. But the balance of power shifts permanently. This is why surrender is rarely declared, and negotiations are framed as choices. Face is preserved, while leverage is lost. From the outside, history records diplomacy. From the inside, power has already spoken. This is the future of conflict, where weapons exist, but are never trusted, where armies remain, but hesitate, and where the most decisive battles happen long before the world notices. The secret weapon was never a single technology. It was the ability to make the enemy understand that fighting was no longer an option. This is how wars end, before they begin.